Welcome to 5 Minute Bible, a daily guide for your daily reading. This is January 3rd, Genesis 8 through 11. Now today's reading follows the flood and marks the first great reset in human history. Genesis 8 through 11 takes place in a world that has passed through the waters of judgment and emerged on the other side of new creation. Humanity is starting over with a cleansed earth, a preserved remnant, and a renewed blessing from God. There's still no nations yet, no laws, no priesthood, but God is now formally committing himself to the stability of the world as history moves forward. You'll remember which direction the rainbow was pointing. Now, Genesis 8 describes the waters receding and Noah stepping out onto dry ground. His first act is worship, and God responds to that worship with a promise to preserve the rhythms of creation moving forward. Genesis 9 records God's covenant with Noah, a covenant that's not about salvation, but about restraint, promising that the world will not again be destroyed by a flood, and placing boundaries on human violence through the sanctity of human life. Genesis 10 traces the spread of Noah's descendants across the earth, forming nations and peoples, and tragically, Genesis 11 records humanity's unified rebellion against God at the Tower of Babel, a place where people attempt to build their security and their glory apart from God, and instead of a worldwide catastrophe and flood, the punishment that God gives them is confusion, scattering, and division. Now, as you read today, I want you to ask yourself the question, what changes after judgment and what doesn't? The flood cleanses the earth, but it doesn't cleanse the human heart. God preserves the world, restrains evil, and recommissions humanity, and yet rebellion resurfaces almost immediately. Genesis 8 through 11 teaches us that judgment alone cannot renew creation. Something deeper than judgment is required. Now, the central tension in these chapters is sobering. The world is stabilized, but sin remains. God promises regular seasons, preserved life, and delayed judgment, ensuring that history can continue. But at the same time, Noah himself falls into shame. Violence is still present, and humanity once again seeks autonomy from God at the Tower of Babel. Unity is still present without obedience, and that becomes dangerous. Rather than filling the earth under God's authority, humanity attempts to consolidate their power and secure their own name. God doesn't respond with destruction this time, but with dispersion, scattering humanity to restrain their rebellion and to preserve his plans and purposes for redemption. Genesis 8 prepares us for the need of a new kind of human. The flood shows us that God can judge sin decisively, but Babel shows us that external judgment alone cannot produce internal righteousness. The covenant with Noah guarantees a stable world in which redemption will eventually unfold, but it does not provide that redemption yet. The scattering of the nations sets the stage for a future reversal, one in which God will one day reunite the peoples of the earth in a new nation, a kingdom of priests and a holy one. Not through human ambition, obviously, but by divine promise and calling, which we will see in the lordship of Jesus Christ. As you read Genesis 8 through 11 today, I want you to pay attention to the stability that God establishes in creation and the rebellion that still persists. I want you to watch how God restrains sin, yet without removing it. And the next movement in the story is not going to begin with the nations. It's going to begin with God choosing a man. One family, in fact, and with one promise given to them that's going to change the direction of history forever. And with that, read your Bible carefully, devotionally, and joyfully. And may the Lord use his word this day to sanctify you completely. And we will continue our journey tomorrow. God bless you.